There is a moment in every life that quietly changes everything. It is not loud, it is not dramatic, no one applauds it. It is the moment you decide to take yourself seriously. Before that moment, life feels random. Days pass without direction. Dreams feel distant. Potential feels wasted. Not because you lack ability, but because you never fully believed you were worth committing to. Taking yourself seriously does not mean becoming rigid or arrogant. It means recognizing that your time, your energy, and your life have value. And value demands respect. Most people wait for permission. Permission from family, permission from society, permission from circumstances. But no one ever hands you permission to believe in yourself. That decision must come from within. The day you take yourself seriously is the day excuses lose their power. You stop saying you'll start tomorrow. You stop blaming your past. You stop minimizing your goals to make others comfortable. You realize that your life is not a rehearsal. There is a story of a man who spent years telling people he had big dreams. He spoke passionately about what he wanted to build, but his actions never matched his words. He woke up late, avoided discipline, waited for motivation, distracted himself with comfort. People slowly stopped believing him, not because his dreams were impossible, but because he did not take himself seriously. One quiet morning, something shifted. He looked at his life honestly, not with judgment, with clarity. He realized that if he didn't respect his own goals, no one else ever would. That day, he started showing up differently, not perfectly, but consistently. And slowly, the world responded to the way he treated himself. Taking yourself seriously begins with honesty. Honesty about where you are. Honesty about what you want. Honesty about the habits that are holding you back. Most people avoid honesty because it's uncomfortable, but discomfort is the doorway to growth. When you stop lying to yourself, you stop betraying yourself. There is another story. A woman with incredible talent kept hiding behind self-doubt. She downplayed her abilities, laughed when people complimented her, delayed opportunities because she didn't feel ready. Years passed. One day, she realized something painful. The world was not underestimating her. She was underestimating herself. The day she took herself seriously, she stopped waiting to feel confident. She acted first. Confidence followed later. Her life did not change overnight, but her identity did. Taking yourself seriously begins with honesty. Honesty about where you are. Honesty about what you want. Honesty about the habits that are holding you back. Most people avoid honesty because it's uncomfortable, but discomfort is the doorway to growth. When you stop lying to yourself, you stop betraying yourself. Most people fail not because they lack talent, but because they lack self-respect. They sabotage themselves with procrastination, with inconsistency, with distractions disguised as comfort. Taking yourself seriously means doing what needs to be done even when no one is watching, especially when no one is watching. There is a quiet strength that forms when you keep promises to yourself. Waking up when you said you would, working when you don't feel like it, choosing growth over comfort. Each small action sends a message to your mind, I can trust myself. And self-trust is the foundation of confidence. The day you take yourself seriously, you stop waiting for motivation. You understand that motivation is unreliable. Discipline is dependable. You stop asking how you feel and start asking what must be done. This shift changes everything. Taking yourself seriously also means accepting responsibility. Responsibility for your choices, responsibility for your direction, responsibility for your future. This is not a burden, it is freedom, because once you accept responsibility, you gain control.
Many people say they want change, but few are willing to change their identity. You cannot live like a person who doesn't care and expect results like someone who does. The day you take yourself seriously, your standards rise. And when your standards rise, your life follows.
There is a hidden cost to not taking yourself seriously. It doesn't show up immediately. It accumulates quietly over time. It shows up as regret, as untapped potential, as the feeling that life is passing you by while you stand still. Most people don't fail loudly. They fail silently by settling. They settle for routines that numb them. They settle for distractions that waste their time. They settle for dreams they talk about but never chase, not because they are incapable, but because they never decided their life was worth the effort. Taking yourself seriously changes how you spend your time. You become aware of how precious your hours are. You stop giving them away to things that add no value. You stop scrolling through days without intention. Time becomes something you protect, not something you kill. When you respect your time, your life begins to gain direction. There is a story of a young man who always said he was busy. Busy scrolling, busy reacting, busy avoiding the work that scared him. Years passed and nothing changed. One day he asked himself a hard question. If my life continues exactly like this, where will I be in 5 years? The answer frightened him. That fear became clarity. He didn't become perfect. He became intentional. He started treating his goals like commitments, not wishes. And slowly, momentum replaced frustration. Taking yourself seriously means embracing discomfort. Growth is uncomfortable. Discipline is uncomfortable. Saying no is uncomfortable. But staying the same is far more painful in the long run. The difference between those who grow and those who stay stuck is not talent. It is tolerance for discomfort. When you take yourself seriously, you stop running from discomfort and start using it as a tool. There is a woman who wanted to change her life for years. She waited for the right time. She waited to feel ready. She waited for confidence. The right time never came. One day she realized something important. Confidence was not a prerequisite. Action was. She started before she felt ready. She showed up while still afraid. She moved forward while still unsure. Taking herself seriously meant acting even when doubt was present. That decision reshaped her future. When you take yourself seriously, you stop seeking validation. You no longer need everyone to agree with you. You no longer need approval to begin. You no longer need applause to continue. Your inner standards become stronger than external opinions. This is maturity. People will notice the change. Some will respect you more. Some will feel uncomfortable. Some will drift away. Not everyone benefits when you raise your standards, and that's okay. Taking yourself seriously sometimes means outgrowing people who only knew the version of you that didn't demand much from life. You also become more patient. Patient with progress, patient with setbacks, patient with yourself. You understand that real change is slow, quiet, and built over time. You stop quitting because results aren't immediate. You stop panicking when things don't go as planned. You stay the course. Taking yourself seriously means choosing long-term fulfillment over short-term comfort. Comfort is easy. Growth is earned. Every time you choose discipline over distraction, you reinforce your identity as someone who follows through. That identity becomes your power. There is a deep confidence that comes from knowing you are doing what needs to be done, even when no one is watching. That confidence is unshakable. It is not loud.
It is not arrogant, it is calm certainty. When you take yourself seriously, you stop playing small. You stop apologizing for wanting more. You stop minimizing your ambitions. You stop hiding your potential. You give yourself permission to become who you are capable of being.
There is a moment when you realize that no one is coming to save you. Not in a hopeless way, but in an empowering one. You understand that your life is your responsibility. Your growth is your responsibility. Your discipline is your responsibility. And strangely, that realization feels freeing. Because when you stop waiting for rescue, you start building. Taking yourself seriously means respecting your own word. Most people break promises to themselves daily. They say they'll start tomorrow. They say they'll stay consistent. They say they'll change. Then tomorrow comes and nothing happens. Each broken promise weakens self-trust, and without self-trust, confidence collapses. The day you take yourself seriously, you stop making promises you won't keep. You start small, you commit realistically, and you follow through. This is how inner strength is built. There was a man who never lacked intelligence or opportunity. What he lacked was consistency. He jumped from one idea to another, one plan to the next, always starting, never finishing. One day he noticed the pattern. His life wasn't chaotic because of bad luck. It was chaotic because he never stayed long enough to let anything grow. The shift came when he decided to take one thing seriously. Just one. He stayed. He showed up even when bored, even when progress felt invisible. That discipline changed not just his work, but his entire sense of identity. Taking yourself seriously also means learning to be alone with your thoughts. Most people avoid silence. They fill every quiet moment with noise, scrolling, talking, distracting. Silence forces honesty, and honesty can be uncomfortable. But silence is where clarity is born. When you sit with yourself long enough, you hear what truly matters to you. And when you hear that voice, you stop living on autopilot. The day you take yourself seriously, you stop negotiating with your bad habits. You stop saying, just this once, I deserve this break, I'll make up for it later. You realize that small compromises repeated daily shape your future, and so do small disciplines. There is a woman who constantly put herself last. She said yes to everyone. She overextended. She burned out. She thought being selfless was admirable, until exhaustion became resentment. Taking herself seriously meant learning to say no, without guilt, without explanation. At first, it felt uncomfortable, but soon something changed. She had energy again, clarity again, respect again. Others adjusted to her boundaries once she stopped apologizing for them. Taking yourself seriously does not mean becoming harsh with yourself. It means becoming honest. It means recognizing when you are avoiding effort, when you are hiding behind excuses, when you are choosing comfort over growth, and then choosing differently, with compassion, with intention, with resolution. When you take yourself seriously, your standards quietly rise. You no longer tolerate environments that drain you. You no longer accept relationships that disrespect you. You no longer engage in habits that sabotage you, not out of ego, out of self-respect. Something subtle happens when you take yourself seriously. Life starts responding. Opportunities appear. People listen differently. Your presence feels stronger, not because you demanded respect, but because you embodied it. You begin to realize that success is not about intensity, it's about consistency, not about dramatic change, but about quiet discipline repeated daily. The world is full of people with potential. Very few have commitment. The day you take yourself seriously, you join the second group.
At some point, you begin to notice a quiet shift inside you. You stop chasing urgency. You stop rushing to prove yourself. You stop reacting to everything. Taking yourself seriously brings calm, because when you know who you are and what you stand for, you don't need to be loud. You move with intention. You speak with clarity. You act with purpose. There is a story of a person who was always busy but never fulfilled, always moving but never progressing. Their days were full. Their life felt empty. The problem was not effort, it was direction. Taking yourself seriously means choosing direction over motion. You begin to ask yourself important questions. What matters to me? What am I building? What kind of life do I want to look back on? And then you align your actions with those answers. When you take yourself seriously, you stop outsourcing responsibility. You no longer blame circumstances, people, or timing. You understand that while not everything is in your control, your response always is. This mindset removes victimhood and replaces it with ownership. Ownership changes everything. There is a quiet confidence that comes from living in alignment. When your words match your actions, when your values guide your choices, when your discipline supports your goals. You no longer feel scattered, you feel centered. This is what inner stability feels like. Taking yourself seriously also means accepting imperfection. You stop waiting to be flawless before you begin. You stop expecting perfection from yourself. You allow mistakes, you allow learning, you allow growth, but you do not allow excuses. This balance is maturity. There is a man who delayed his dreams because he was afraid of failing publicly. He waited for certainty. He waited for guarantees. Years passed. Eventually, he realized that uncertainty was unavoidable, so he stopped waiting. He moved forward despite fear, not because fear disappeared, but because his commitment became stronger than his doubt. That is what taking yourself seriously looks like. When you take yourself seriously, you become selective. Selective with your time, selective with your energy, selective with your environment. You understand that focus is fragile and protection is necessary. This is not selfish, it is wise. You also learn the value of solitude, not isolation, but intentional time alone, time to think, time to reflect, time to reconnect with yourself. In solitude, you remember who you are without the noise of expectations. Taking yourself seriously means respecting your future self. Every action you take today is a message to the person you will become. Will they thank you or wish you had done more? This awareness changes daily decisions. You begin to see life differently. Discipline no longer feels like punishment. It feels like self-care. Consistency no longer feels boring. It feels empowering. Growth no longer feels distant. It feels inevitable. The day you take yourself seriously, you stop underestimating the impact of small actions. You realize that progress is quiet, invisible at first, powerful over time, and you stay patient. There comes a point where you stop trying to impress people and start trying to improve yourself. This shift is quiet but powerful. You no longer chase attention. You no longer need validation. You no longer measure your worth through reactions. Taking yourself seriously means your standards come from within. And when your standards are internal, they cannot be shaken by opinions.
Many people confuse seriousness with pressure. They believe taking themselves seriously means becoming harsh, rigid, or joyless. But true seriousness is gentle. It is calm. It is patient. It does not rush. It does not panic. It does not seek shortcuts. It simply shows up every day with intention. There is a story of someone who always felt behind in life. They compared constantly. They rushed decisions. They tried to catch up. Nothing worked. The moment things changed was the moment they stopped racing others and started respecting their own pace. Taking yourself seriously means honoring your timeline. Growth does not happen by force. It happens by consistency. You begin to understand that not every emotion deserves action. Just because you feel tired does not mean you stop. Just because you feel doubtful does not mean you quit. Taking yourself seriously means learning to act even when emotions fluctuate. This emotional maturity becomes a source of strength. When you take yourself seriously, you stop rehearsing conversations in your head. You stop replaying moments. You stop overthinking what others think. Your attention turns inward, toward growth, toward alignment, toward progress. Mental energy returns to you. There is a person who used to avoid responsibility because it felt heavy. They wanted freedom without structure. But real freedom came when they embraced structure willingly. Structure gave direction. Direction gave clarity. Clarity gave peace. Taking yourself seriously does not limit freedom, it creates it. You begin to realize that confidence is not loud. It does not announce itself. It does not seek approval. Confidence is calm consistency. It is the quiet belief that you will do what you say you will do, and that belief changes how you carry yourself. Taking yourself seriously also means forgiving yourself for past versions. You stop judging who you used to be with the awareness you have now. You understand that growth requires compassion. You cannot build a strong future while constantly punishing your past. Forgiveness becomes part of discipline. There is strength in choosing depth over speed, in building slowly, in learning thoroughly, in committing fully. The world celebrates quick wins, but lasting change is built in silence. Taking yourself seriously aligns you with that truth. You begin to notice something else. You are less reactive, less defensive, less emotionally pulled in every direction. Because when your life has direction, distractions lose their appeal. Taking yourself seriously means choosing long-term peace over short-term pleasure. It means asking yourself, will this move me closer to who I want to become? And answering honestly. The more you take yourself seriously, the less you fear failure. Failure becomes feedback. Mistakes become lessons. Setbacks become redirection. Nothing is wasted.
There is a quiet dignity that forms when you stop abandoning yourself. You stop ignoring your instincts. You stop silencing your needs. You stop betraying your own potential for comfort. Taking yourself seriously means standing by yourself, even when no one else does. That kind of loyalty changes everything. Many people live disconnected from themselves. They follow routines they didn't choose. They chase goals they don't truly want. They live lives shaped by expectations. Taking yourself seriously means reconnecting with your inner voice, not the loud voice of fear, not the anxious voice of comparison, but the quiet voice that knows what matters. That voice grows stronger the more you listen. There is a person who spent years pleasing everyone. They adjusted their opinions, lowered their standards,
hid their true ambitions. They were liked, but they were not fulfilled. The moment they began taking themselves seriously, they stopped asking, "Will this make others comfortable?" and started asking, "Is this aligned with who I am?" Some people left, some relationships changed, but peace replaced approval. Taking yourself seriously also means slowing down. Not everything needs an immediate response. Not every message deserves instant attention. Not every opportunity is meant for you. You learn to pause, to reflect, to choose deliberately. This slowness creates clarity. You begin to see discipline differently, not as restriction, but as devotion. Devotion to your future, devotion to your growth, devotion to becoming someone you respect. Every disciplined choice becomes an act of self-respect. There is a calm power in knowing that you are doing your best with intention. You no longer rush success. You trust the process. You show up. You refine. You improve, day by day. Taking yourself seriously also means accepting loneliness at times. Growth often requires separation from old habits, from old environments, from old identities. Loneliness is not punishment, it is space. Space to become who you are meant to be. You stop consuming what drains you. Conversations without depth, entertainment without meaning, distractions without purpose. Your attention becomes sacred, and where your attention goes, your life follows. When you take yourself seriously, you stop waiting for confidence to appear. You act despite uncertainty. You move forward with humility. Confidence becomes the result, not the requirement. There is strength in choosing consistency over excitement. Excitement fades, consistency builds. Taking yourself seriously means staying when things get quiet, when progress is invisible, when motivation is low. This is where most people leave and where transformation begins. You begin to notice a new relationship with failure. Failure no longer defines you, it informs you. You stop fearing mistakes because you trust your ability to recover. That trust becomes unshakable. Taking yourself seriously is not about becoming someone else. It is about becoming more of who you already are. More honest, more disciplined, more intentional, less scattered, less reactive, less uncertain.
There is a moment when you realize that taking yourself seriously changes how you speak to yourself. The inner dialogue softens. It becomes clearer, more honest, less cruel. You stop calling yourself lazy when you are tired. You stop calling yourself weak when you're learning. You stop tearing yourself down for being human. Taking yourself seriously means treating yourself with the same respect you expect from others. Many people push themselves harshly and call it discipline, but real discipline is not punishment. It is guidance. It says, "I know this is hard, but it matters. I know you're tired, but this is important. I trust you to show up." This kind of discipline builds strength without breaking you. There is a story of someone who always quit when things got difficult, not because they lacked ability, but because discomfort felt like failure. Each time resistance appeared, they walked away. One day, they stayed. They stayed through confusion, through boredom, through self-doubt. That single decision rewired how they saw themselves. They were no longer someone who quit. They became someone who endured. Taking yourself seriously sometimes means staying longer than feels comfortable. When you take yourself seriously, you stop avoiding responsibility and start using it as a foundation. Responsibility gives structure. Structure gives stability. Stability gives confidence. Your life stops feeling chaotic because you are no longer drifting.
You begin to notice that peace does not come from ease, it comes from alignment, from knowing that your actions reflect your values, from knowing that your effort has direction, from knowing that you are not wasting your potential. That peace is deep and it lasts. Taking yourself seriously also changes how you deal with criticism. You listen without collapsing. You reflect without becoming defensive. You discard what doesn't apply. Criticism no longer defines you because your self-worth is internal. This emotional strength is quiet but powerful. There is a person who once feared being seen trying. They preferred hiding to failing publicly. The day they took themselves seriously, they accepted visibility as part of growth. Not everyone supported them, not everyone understood, but they understood themselves, and that was enough. You start to feel less rushed, less pressured by timelines, less affected by comparisons, less anxious about where you should be, because you are finally present in your own journey. Taking yourself seriously means honoring progress, even when it feels small. You acknowledge effort, you recognize growth, you respect consistency. You stop waiting for perfection to validate your work. There is a clarity that comes when you no longer confuse busyness with progress. You choose fewer things and do them with more intention. Your focus sharpens, your energy deepens. You realize that success is not built in dramatic moments. It is built in quiet repetition, showing up, adjusting, continuing. This understanding changes how you live. The day you take yourself seriously, your life does not suddenly become easy, but it becomes meaningful, and meaning sustains you when motivation fades.
There is a quiet maturity that develops when you stop explaining yourself to everyone. You realize that not everyone needs to understand your choices. Not everyone needs access to your plans. Not everyone deserves your energy. Taking yourself seriously means moving in silence at times, letting results speak instead of words. You begin to notice how much energy was wasted trying to be liked, trying to fit in, trying to be understood. When you release that need, your focus returns to what truly matters. Your life becomes simpler, clearer, more intentional. There is a person who once shared every idea they had. They spoke before building. They sought encouragement before commitment. Most plans never moved forward. The shift came when they stopped talking and started working. They protected their vision. They nurtured it quietly. Taking yourself seriously sometimes means keeping your dreams private until they are strong enough to stand on their own. You also become more grounded in your decisions. You don't constantly question yourself. You don't look for reassurance at every step. You make a choice, you commit, you adapt if needed. This steadiness creates inner peace. Taking yourself seriously changes how you deal with setbacks. You no longer dramatize them. You don't spiral into self-criticism. You observe, you adjust, you continue. Setbacks become part of the process, not a reason to stop. There is a deep sense of self-respect that forms when you honor your own effort. Even when progress is slow, even when no one notices, even when recognition is absent, you know what you were doing matters because you chose it consciously. You begin to understand that discipline is an expression of care. Care for your future, care for your potential, care for the life you are building. Every time you show up when it's difficult, you strengthen your identity. Taking yourself seriously also means choosing truth over comfort, being honest about where you are falling short, being honest about what needs to change, being honest about what you truly want. Truth may feel heavy at first, but it is always lighter than denial. There is a person who stayed stuck for years because they avoided hard truths. Once they faced them, nothing outside changed immediately,
But inside, clarity appeared. Clarity brought direction. Direction brought movement. Movement brought confidence. You begin to notice that confidence is built from evidence. Evidence that you show up. Evidence that you follow through. Evidence that you keep going. Each day you take yourself seriously, you add another piece of evidence. You stop seeking motivation. You build structure. Structure supports you when motivation disappears. This is how stability is created. Taking yourself seriously means respecting your limits too. Rest becomes intentional, not avoidance, not escape. You rest to recover, not to run away. This balance prevents burnout and sustains progress. You begin to trust yourself deeply. That trust becomes your anchor when life feels uncertain. You know you will adapt. You know you will learn. You know you will continue.
There comes a moment when you stop waiting for permission. You realize no one is coming to approve your life. No one is going to officially tell you that you are ready. Taking yourself seriously begins right there. You stop postponing your growth until conditions are perfect. You work with what you have. You begin where you are. You improve as you move forward. This mindset alone separates people who remain stuck from those who quietly transform their lives. You also become selective with your attention. Not every opinion deserves space in your mind. Not every criticism deserves a response. You learn the difference between feedback and noise. Noise drains you. Feedback refines you. Taking yourself seriously means protecting your mental space. There is a story of someone who once reacted to everything. A comment, a look, a small setback. Each reaction stole focus. Over time, they learned restraint. They paused. They reflected. They responded only when it mattered. That restraint became power. You start to see time differently. Time is no longer something to kill. It becomes something to invest. You stop filling your days with distractions that leave you empty. You choose actions that build you, even when they are uncomfortable. Taking yourself seriously creates consistency, not perfection, consistency. Small actions done regularly reshape your identity. You don't need massive changes, you need steady ones. You also become comfortable being misunderstood. Not everyone will get your silence. Not everyone will support your boundaries. That's okay. Your responsibility is not to explain yourself, but to stay aligned with your values. There is a quiet confidence that comes from alignment. When your actions match your intentions, you feel stable, no inner conflict, no constant guilt, just clarity. You begin to notice that self-respect is built privately, in early mornings, in late nights, in moments when no one is watching. This is where character is shaped. Taking yourself seriously also means accepting responsibility without self-blame. You own your mistakes without attacking yourself. You learn without labeling yourself as a failure. This creates emotional resilience. There is a person who once avoided responsibility because it felt heavy. When they embraced it, they felt lighter. Responsibility gave them control. Control gave them freedom. You begin to understand that discipline is not punishment. It is protection. Protection from regret. Protection from wasted potential. Your inner dialogue becomes calmer. You no longer speak to yourself harshly. You speak honestly and constructively. This inner relationship sets the tone for everything else.
Taking yourself seriously eventually changes how others respond to you. Not because you demand respect, but because you embody it. Your presence becomes grounded. Your words become intentional. People feel it. You no longer chase validation. You measure progress by integrity, not applause. This makes your confidence unshakable. You start choosing long-term fulfillment over short-term comfort. This choice repeats daily, and with each repetition, your life shifts quietly but permanently.
As you take yourself seriously, you begin to see patterns you once ignored, patterns in how you avoid discomfort, patterns in how you delay decisions, patterns in how you talk yourself out of growth. Awareness becomes your turning point. You stop romanticizing potential and start respecting execution. Ideas feel exciting, action feels heavy, but action is what changes reality. You learn to value effort over intention. There is a story of someone who had talent but no structure. They waited for motivation. They waited for the right mood. Nothing moved. The day they built a routine, their life changed quietly, not dramatically, not overnight, but permanently. Taking yourself seriously means you no longer negotiate with laziness. You don't argue with it. You don't shame yourself for it. You acknowledge it and move anyway. You begin to understand that discipline is emotional maturity. It's choosing what matters most over what feels good now. This choice builds self-trust. Self-trust is everything. When you trust yourself, you don't panic easily. You don't quit quickly. You know you will show up even when it's hard. You stop over-explaining your goals. You let your actions speak. Silence becomes a strategy, not a weakness. There is strength in being underestimated. It removes pressure. It gives you space to grow privately. Many transformations happen away from the spotlight. Taking yourself seriously also changes how you handle setbacks. You don't dramatize them. You analyze them. You ask, what is this teaching me? Failure becomes feedback. You stop seeking comfort in distractions, scrolling less, escaping less. You sit with discomfort until it teaches you something useful. Your standards rise, not for others, for yourself. You no longer tolerate what drains your energy or direction. There is a moment when you realize growth feels lonely, and that's okay. Loneliness is often a sign that you're outgrowing old versions of yourself. You begin to feel proud, not loud pride, but quiet confidence, the kind that doesn't need proof. You no longer need constant reassurance. You validate yourself through consistency and effort. This builds inner stability. Taking yourself seriously also means choosing rest intentionally. Rest is no longer escape, it is recovery. You respect your limits without surrendering your discipline. Your life becomes simpler, fewer excuses, clearer priorities, stronger focus. You realize something powerful. No one changed your life for you. You did. One decision at a time, one boundary at a time, one promise kept to yourself.